in as a balance, or that they would give you a discount in your bill. One issue, depending upon what the lease says, we're trying to work on that, see what the best way to allow it. Improving outreach and enforcement. So we're going to have a quick presentation to kind of give some baseline information about the program, and then we'll get into going back and forth to listen to people's comments to address issues that have already been raised with the best answers we can. So I'll introduce Mark Darcy from Waste Zero.
Good evening, everybody. Happy to be here and answer any questions you might have about the solid waste situation in Connecticut nationally, and also talk about the co-collection and the unit-based pricing program as has been introduced here, and answer any questions about the history of those programs, how they work or how they should work. So again, I wanted to try to be brief, but I do want to give some accurate history as to how these things come about, how they've been implemented in some other places. So I don't want to take your time up, because I think the main thing is I want to hear from you and answer the questions, make sure that people have the facts and the information so that they can come what they think of this program without misinformation. So I think that's really the main goal. So just to
yes, sir. So we are recording this meeting after the information, so we'll have a record.
So the first thing I want to talk about is just, again, big picture. So, we go back, Plymouth, Massachusetts, the town passed the unit-based pricing, the orange bag program that have had for about 15 years. But when the totals came over, everybody just put stuff in a hook, right? It was not toxic, it was very easy to vary. There weren't a lot of chemicals and couldn't drive anywhere, right? So over time, people didn't want those in their neighborhood. Things became more toxic. We went to a much different system. And so if you look at the New England, we had a ton of landfills, in 1980. We're down to practically, I think, 8 landfills in New England, really 0 municipal landfills in the state. What we do have are waste to energy facilities here. The big one, Mira, was the big one in Hartford that closed a couple of years back. All the other ones, the youngest one is 34 years old. Their lifespan is 30 to 40 years. Some could go a little longer, but eventually they start to deteriorate. They need major capital overhauls. And the other challenge that New England has specifically is that, this is a town that's very active, but a lot of New England towns are very active. They're not big county governments that you see in some rest of the country. So everybody's concerned about their community. As we see tonight, you're all here tonight. And imagine in any town where they want to put a new landfill or they want to put a new waste to energy facility. It affects everybody's property values. It affects everything people do. And it's a big part of their life. So the reason that we don't have it anymore is in part because of the nature of New England government. Because it's smaller town government. And if I had any denser, nobody wants that in their neighborhood. So there is no big, huge part of land or somebody's going to go, let's put that over there. And so, the idea that there are going to be more waste energy facilities or more landfills built in New England is pretty impractical. Not saying it can't happen, but that's been the history. So what we've seen is landfill capacity going down and actually getting to 0. It's going to get to 0 in New England. Rhode Island has 1 landfill left that will get 0 in 2034. They'll be the first state with 0 capacity. And so what's going to happen is we're trying to export it, trying to ship it to other states. And so that could work for a while. This is where Connecticut's taking its trash right now. There are 2.18 million tons of waste generated per year, and about 800,000 is now being exported. Okay, so it's going to Pennsylvania, it's going to Ohio, it's going to Virginia, and there may be other states further away that will take it, but it's continually getting more expensive as you have, it's a supply and demand thing. If we continue to create the same supply or demand for landfill space, but the supply continues to go away, the prices are going up, and they are going up. And so what we end up doing is finding communities in other parts of the country that are willing to take our trash today. This week, New Hampshire, and as many other states have done, they've introduced 2 pieces of legislation to limit or stop out-of-state waste from coming into their state. Now, I'm not saying I can have a crystal ball as to what Pennsylvania and Ohio are going to do, but I can tell you the politicians do not want, and the residents don't want your garbage. So that's another pressure. So one of the thoughts that, Deep has, one of the reasons that we have this program is that, okay, so we have less capacity to take the material. What if we just made less? What if we found different ways to take our garbage and make it, recyclable, use what can be recycled, whether that's textiles, whether it's municipal recycling, use with the food waste, which is the green bag program, trying to get that out of the waste stream and trying to get that into a better use here. That's a more palatable type of operation to create energy like we have in Southington. It's easier to cite something like that than it is a new burn. And by the way, when we talk about burning the trash, it is a waste to energy facility, but the last one that started was it's in Palm Beach County, Florida. And I believe it completed in 2007. That was the last one in the United States. And the cost was over $750 million. So because it costs a lot to get through the regulation, to get through everything that needs to be done to build. And so those things take a long time. They're not going to come around anytime soon. Whereas these AD facilities, anaerobic digestion, that's where you take the food and turn it into energy. There's a ton of investment and a ton of companies that want to build those facilities because they see that as the future and the way to use that material. So if we look, 75% of what we're currently putting in our trash, those are from waste audits. And Tori is over here. Tori actually puts on the white suit and she goes through your stuff and she looks, not yours specifically necessarily, but she takes the trash and she goes through all the pieces of food and everything. I will say I have done it, but it is not my favorite thing to do. But you can see exactly where people's trash is, and there are tons of waste audits if you want to look on the internet. But these are all pretty hard and true numbers. That about 25% of what's left, that's what needs to go in the orange trash bags. And so the objective is to say, how do we incentivize people and give people the power to choose how to spend their money? And how do we give people the opportunity to reduce that trash? I do want to just mention this real quick, that the food scraps, while only 20% of this waste stream by weight, is 60% of the GHG. So it is very impactful, and it can be turned into energy. So let me get real quick to the part that I think kind of makes everybody nervous. Why do we want to pay based on what we throw away? Why can't we just have the old system where it's a flat fee? And it's a reasonable question. The objective is to try to look at trash like we do every other utility. Okay, there aren't many people in this room who would say, I want to take my electric bill, take it away, just put it in the budget of the city. We'll all just use as much electricity as we want. We'll just let our taxes go up. No, I don't think very many people would choose that option. We prefer to control our electric bill. We prefer to have the choice of how much we're spending. Now, when it comes to trash, it's not as big as the electric bill. It's a much smaller piece. But it's still saying, what if we could give you and empower you with the ability to reduce your trash? That's the objective of the orange bag program. We want to turn that into the same mindset you have where you don't leave the lights on and you don't leave your door open when it's weather like today because you don't want to heat the outside. All the things that I learned as a kid, don't do this, right? But with our trash, we're not really thinking of it in those terms because it's kind of more of an all you can eat buffet. I can throw out whatever I want. And it doesn't impact my costs. Now it does impact our collector costs if we don't recycle, we don't use the food waste program. But without the orange bag program, you're not impacted personally. You're not thinking about it as much personally. And that's why it's new to people. And it's kind of sometimes you get people thinking, wait a second, I didn't pay for it before. You did. You paid for it before, I promise you. It's just a different way to pay for it. And so when we look at the impact of these programs and we talk about, going back to the 1970s, before we even had recycling as an option, the average amount of waste that Americans threw away per capita, this is residential waste. This is our not corporate waste and not food, not restaurant waste and not, industrial waste. This is residential waste, was 900 pounds per person per year. Okay. Today, after all the recycling programs, after everything we've done, we're at 740 as a country. We're 720 in Connecticut, I believe. And if you want to look at these unit-based pricing programs like Stonington has, and like 140 cities in your neighboring state of Massachusetts have, Stonington's average is 386 pounds per capita. They're not alone. Every single city in town, once the resident has to think about what they pay for, and they start looking at their options of all those 75% of the things that don't have to go in the bag, and they don't want to pay for the bags, they start finding all those other more productive outlets for their trash. And so they can reduce their trash, and you can see the per capita. And this is Stonington. They've been doing it since 1993. So this is not new. The unit-based pricing piece is not new. It's just more new to Connecticut. And then you look at a town like Brattleboro, Vermont. Okay, they don't have the green bag program. They have a separate collection route for their food waste, which is something we haven't answered questions about why we're looking at the co-collection. But they have a separate collection and unit-based pricing. What you've got here, the opportunity that we have here, and they're at 225 pounds per capita. So that's basically the 75% that we talked about that didn't have to go in the trash to the landfill, to the waste energy facility for Pennsylvania, which is the option now. They took that out for more productive things. And so that's the objective of the program. I mentioned that Stonington's been doing it since the early 90s. I think collectively in New England, we're happy to provide all the cities that do this, because Massachusetts has a great website, Maine has a great website. So if you take the number of years times the number of cities that do this, there's 6,000 years of experience in unit-based pricing. So that piece is new here. It's always seems new, and it's a change, but that's you have Maine, Rhode Island, all these towns, all these states do it. New York does it. Binghamton, New York's done it since the early 90s. These are not new programs here, and they're certainly not new internationally. Whole countries do it in Europe. This is just the way they throw away their garbage in bags, different color bags, different prices, and they get a better reaction when they do that. And it's also done in cities, towns, Seoul, South Korea, much more complicated places than doing it here in Middletown. So my next slide has nothing on it. So, it does. Sorry. So these are just some of the charts, and we're seeing this here. We don't have full participation yet, but we do have people that are starting to do it. I think we're about 506 was what the mayor said the other day, pounds per capita. So we've got a ways to go to get to Stonington's level or Brattleboro's, but people are starting to do it. But these are the graphs from towns. And again, happy to share if you all want information. You can call these cities and towns or call states like Massachusetts DP. They have all the numbers every single year. So these are just facts of what people. And the interesting thing about garbage, you can't make it up because you pay the bill. The city's going to pay the tip bill, so you know exactly how many pounds of trash you throw away. So all these towns charts, these are charts from these different towns, but the results are immediate and they're long lasting. The last chart, Sanford, Maine, they institute the program and they had a referendum to go to that, and which is one of the couple of towns voted out of hundreds. And then they saw that their trash went back up. So you can see where it went down and where it went back up. And then they did that for a while. And they said, you know what? They voted it back in. The resident kind of came and said, we want to do this program. It was either cut other expenses, cut other things, city services. And they said, why don't we go back to that program for saving this money? So that's, again, we can certainly provide news articles or anything you want to read about, but these are just historical facts on the program. So I did want to just run through that. It's just a chart from Dartmouth, Maine. And again, I want this to be more about, I don't want to take all the time, so I want you guys to ask questions. But it is, this has been studied, reported on, different institutes, the Goldwater Institute, the Beasley Foundation. I mean, these are principles that this is a freer opportunity for you to spend your money more intelligently, rather than just sending it in as a flat fee. And so, again, sometimes that concept is hard to wrap your head around because it's new, but really the city gave you back $10 a month to try to do a better job with how you manage your garbage. And hopefully all of you can do it for less than $10. If you can, everybody's gonna save money, and we're gonna reduce the trash here in Middletown, which was one of the core objectives, to save money and do that. The second piece of this program, and again, happy to answer questions for what co-collection is. Co-collection is new here in Middletown. It's not new in Europe. It's new here in Connecticut this past year and a half. And it's something that Deep is looking at. They're also, they're looking at different pilots where sometimes they're, at set of collection routes just for the food waste. They're trying to do it this way because it's so much cheaper. So what we don't want to do is raise your bill. We want to give you the opportunity to get that food out and turn it into energy again in Southern. But we don't want a new route going around the city, more trucks. Again, a lot of people don't want that. And it's also not, I think, environmentally smart to do that. It's certainly not cost effective to do that. So this is, again, trying to use the same carts, the same infrastructure that you have, and then be able to sort that material for roughly $10 a ton. Roughly, versus, $65 to $100 for a set. So this is really the only cost-effective way to do it. And Deep really wants to give this a shot to see if, just like Europe, we could be more effective in this way and get everyone to participate, or give everyone the opportunity to participate.
Who's arguing that issue in the protecting? The state, so that's the state. State is providing for the public.
And that is, yeah, so that's the,
And you work for a different company?
no, so that is really all, that's kind of the overview. Hopefully that gives you guys some background and turn it back over to Chris. Thank you.
Kim, do you want to start with anything?
So, hey, everybody, I'm Nicole Dork, recycling coordinator for the city. I just wanted to thank you all for coming here and learning about this program. Just for the logistics, I'm gonna go up front and I'm gonna write on that nice pad there if necessary. But we are going to try to answer the questions that you guys have. And as Chris said in the beginning, some of the topics are going to require more of a discussion. And that the idea is that we want feedback. We want this to be a working group. So we want to pull out the topics that really require some work. We know this program needs to be tweaked. We appreciate that. And we want to hear from you, but it's going to take more than an hour with all we have to talk about today. We just want to get the issues out there, but I just want to say, if anything, if we start going down a rabbit hole on anything, we're going to pull it out and have it for another meeting. But right now, we want to try to address any concerns that you have, answer your questions, and then I'll take down the ones that will need additional time, and we can set up further meetings for those. I do want to say that we want to be respectful of your time, and we are stopping the meeting at 7:30. So we will go on from there and move on.
So I guess the first we're asking questions about the Lisbon facility. So the city does own the Lisbon facility, which is a waste management facility, but it's not free to us. So we have to pay the same price that the southeastern Connecticut, SCARA, something like that.
Yeah.
Waste people already pays. And I believe that's somewhere around $75 a ton. So it is less than other normal pit fees, but then we also have to pay to get our trash from here to there. And that's an additional, I think you're going to estimate it somewhere about $75 per ton to transport it. So while it would be great that we could bring our trash to Lisbon, it's not cost effective for us. So that's why we haven't brought it to Lisbon yet. Go ahead.
So you're not bringing it to Lisbon,
Right.
you're bringing it to Southern.
Food waste, go ahead. So,
Drivers pick up the trash.
yeah,
They go to Southington.
Yeah.
Wait in a line. I know this, somebody I know, sanitation. They wait in a line and then they drive it back. Now you wasted 3 hours of taxpayers' money.
Just can I answer that? Sure. Well, so, the food waste goes to 5 and 10. So the all the trash together gets picked up and goes to where.
Because
Oh, the sort facility.
Yeah.
You're in sort and it's.
Yep.
Then it's recycling, so.
It's not-
Right.
Taxpayers are paying $3.
So not taxpayers, it's all,
And then for the blizzard, now we're paying them $6. That not a waste of our money?
So we haven't heard about this 3 hour wait at the facility. We did just start, excuse me, if I could finish. So we did just start a new contract. The city did some, our request for quotation on trash disposal pricing. And the lowest cost that we got was a facility in Southington. It was within our mileage. So we include in the contract, in the bid, the specifications that it has to be within a certain range. And that was within that certain range. So it is, we offer it there. It is a sorting facility, which is not, it is closest sorting facility to us. And, yeah, we just started that. So we will talk to the drivers to see if there actually is that much of a wait.
So
I can confirm that.
on HQ,
Yeah.
how come we weren't aware of this?
aware of what?
The driving to Southington, the drive back, so they're in the town. And there's a line of truck, and we just have this.
I don't believe there's a line of trucks at this new facility. There was another facility we were working with before that did have them.
It's
did
not
have
just
one.
us using that.
I'm sorry?
It's not just us using that. So there is lines of trucks.
We'll check with the drivers, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, touch on, based on the presentation.
One person at a time, please.
There's a couple of things I want to touch on in the presentation.
One person at a time.
Most directly, you mentioned that we need to start thinking about the sanitation as another utility. And I don't think that's correct or accurate, even an appropriate approach. It is supposed to be a public service. And in one case in our city, it's not even a public service. It's more akin to a social service. There's only a sanitation district participating. So whatever form of equality that we impose against people who are residents here, it does not extend beyond the people who live in the downtown area. And we are made to pay for something that people, and I'm still particularly annoyed when a woman, Krishna Winston, stood beside me, presented a plaque to the mayor. And then after I had spoken and specifically stated, $400,000 homeowners on the other end of town are demeaning us and saying they don't respect our complaints and our criticisms. And we're like basically this group of children that need to have a behavior corrected. This person is totally unaffected by the program and can do whatever they want. They're not buying the bags, they're not participating into it. We are creating an equality within a system that is trapped, is closed. People can't even leave the system without paying $150 fee. Now, when we talk about it as a utility, I want to pay for every show I watch on Netflix. That's what you're basically describing doing, saying, well, you're going to download Netflix, you're going to have a subscription service, but now you're going to pay each and every single show you watch, each and every single item. We're going to figure out what that is. The sanitation district, as I always understood it, it's a unit. We came together and we get a better rate than everybody who's outside in the farther reaches because the transportation is greater, they're in remote locations, inefficiency of driving around. Private companies want to pick that stuff up. The city doesn't want to touch it. We stay close to the center. We keep the center clean for the benefit of everyone. And the people who are in the least advantaged parts of the city, they're benefiting from a lower rate. Collectivism and unionization. We can't get any of this other type of service in our zones because we're unionized. And if I say I want out, well, all waste won't come into my zone because half of my street, one end is unionized and one half isn't. I can't get them to come onto my street to do the work. And if they do, they're going to charge me even more. And now I owe the city because I'm pulling myself out of the union. I have to pay $150 on top of this. I go down to the city's dump and I say, hey, what if I bring you guys the bags? The green and the orange. I'll play ball. Hell, I love the green and orange bags. I think that needs to be clear. I think most people in the room like the idea of the green and the orange bags. I've seen it work in Iceland. I've seen it work in France. It's all over Europe. You're absolutely right. And it's brilliant. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing with the idea of reducing our waste and diminishing this cost. The problem is the way that the program is being implemented is just a giant, we want a plaque on the wall. We want to look green. We want the Greta Thunberg work. But we're not interested in any way it's going to impact the individual user downrange. I cannot take my trash to the dump. They tell me no, we don't accept household trash. Why not? There's giant containers down there for cardboard and every other thing. The city wasted money, if I understand correctly, Golden said it once, yeah, they used the money they got from the state to buy an AI camera to attach to the trucks. Where are we going with this? 1984, we're gonna start scanning people's stuff and thought crime and every other type of double thing we can work on here. We could have put a human being down at the city dump who could have supervised and collected those bags and made sure people were compliant. The bags, as he states, are a receipt, the cost of disposal baked right into it. So why can't I just say, you know, I don't want to have the collection, I want to opt out, I'll go to the city at my own convenience, and I'll drop off that stuff down. So I don't think it's a utility, and it's destroying the collectivism that we have. It's saying, hey, don't work together. Now, I didn't pay for trash. My own free will, I bought my house in Canaan. I discovered now, I never knew any of these things were the way they were. I assumed the whole city had. Then I thought they didn't. And there was zones where they had this and all this stuff. And I thought, hey, the union's fine. I'm great at it. I pay for my service. I can go away somewhere. Maybe I can get to put the can out. I still paid for it. I still paid for it whether I used it or not. But now we're saying, oh, no, we're not gonna worry about how my use is versus his use versus the family, was a lot of kids, they're making a lot of waste, a lot of diapers. We're not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna worry about ourselves. We're gonna individualize and we're gonna start focusing on that and say, to hell with collective efforts, to hell with the whole system. And you also mentioned they voted in other towns. We didn't vote for this. We had no say in this. It just started up. Bags got put out. I had no idea it was even going on until I suddenly found out through Facebook that there's fines that are going to be levied against people. And I'll close with this thing. We keep talking about fines, we keep talking about owning some people's trash and citing people for who's violating the program. But again and again, California versus Greenwood, it is the Supreme Court case that was decided and said no expectation of privacy in trash was left on the curb. The cops, when I was a law enforcement officer, we go to all people's trash, sort through it, and then use it to find a reason for an arrest for them. Because the guy has no expectation of this trash. I can legally, if I felt like it, drive up and down and go through everybody's cans, look for bottles that I want to return. How if I have something in my possession I want to put in that can? It's on the curb, it's free use. So how are you going to hold people accountable when that's the case? How are you going to hold landlords accountable when they can't control the behavior of the people who are living in it? Thank you for listening.
So, I just I would say that it's, you're using orange bags and someone else throws in whatever, McDonald's bag or another bag. That's gonna be a problem. We understand that could happen, and as long as you're participating and you use your orange bag, and someone else has someone in there, we understand it. We're gonna allow some contamination, of the traffic.
How much is suck?
That's subjective, I don't know. I mean, if you're 3/4 of your can is not in one bags, then we get a problem. If all in one bag is, we'll have to weigh that out, if that's consistent or, gotta figure that out.
It's not subjective.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that I've heard people saying is, I don't like paying for the bag, this is more expensive now. I want to go back to the old way. So they're looking at the chart and starting to revenue. Mark, and Mark showed, kind of track costs are going up. It seems like we're perhaps comparing the wrong things, like the city made decisions to decrease the flat trash fee in November. But because we were introducing this, we were going to introduce this program. If the city hadn't introduced this program, would that rate have gone up? Maybe this year or next year or something like that, because I think that's just part of what I'm kind of struggling with. We're just saying it was 400 years before, and now we're putting more money rather than we'll continue to be 400. And I know we'll see we'll put 100 up.
Until the consensus.
So if I could just comment on that. So, right, I think we were not very clear in explaining that the decision was not to stay at $400. The decision is, right now, we're at a crossroads and we can decide to keep the same system that we have and have increases consistently, infinitely, because of the problems that Mark explained. Or we can try this pilot, try waste reduction and see where it takes us. It is a creative approach. It's not new, except for the co-collection, which only adds benefit and a service to us. So it gives us an option to see if we can control the cost for the future. So the decision is the costs are going up. The private haulers, they're gonna go up. There's absolutely no question.
Eric,
I have to say that from the very get-go, my problem with this whole program, and I'm sure it affects people likewise as it did me, this was a highly veiled program. Run upon us with no communication from the city, from the town, from the municipality, with a box of bags that showed up on my porch one day.
amen.
I did not know one thing about what they were for, where they came from, who sent them. And if I wanted, but I had to use them after doing much research of my own. I found out where they came from. I've been to Ms. O'Rourke's office and your office. And I've been, most all of the meetings that have been held. I don't want to be a secret of why this is taxed upon us without a referendum, without a vote from the populace. I have been extremely upset about the fact that Wesleyan, one of the highest producing billionaires of this district, is exempt.
Sorry, there's just something here. That's definitely not true. Wesley is participating. All of their carts, all the facilities that have carts are participating. They bought a whole massive load of carts
Just recently.
November 1st.
You could expound on that, though. I remember you spoke at the town council.
Yeah.
And mentioned that their carts are subject, but the dumpsters aren't.
So that's the same throughout the whole sanitation district. That carts are the only ones that are,
The hospital is.
yeah, no, they're not, well,
All cart service.
So when they have a dumpster, it means they're paying private haulers. The dumpsters at
not necessarily.
It's all, it's just the cart service. It's a cart service.
I feel like I've been hacked. I feel other people and other taxpayers within our district, they have been hacked as well. We should have had either a referendum or a public notice put out in the papers and online about this program proceeding towards it. It didn't happen that way. All of a sudden, you're in a new program and it's not costing you $1.65 a day. I live alone. I have to pay $1.65 every week if I want to get rid of my trash. That is obscene and it was done underhandedly as far as I'm concerned. There was no public input to this program.
But the question is, how can you say that? You actually came to one of our public meetings. If you get that in the back, if you're interested in what we did for outreach, this sheet here summarizes everywhere we were, what we did. So we had the first year of the program was voluntary, and after we get the box of bags.
We didn't know that. We didn't know what they were for.
But we did go, so hold on. Now we'll just, don't have to-
Okay, I'm gonna stop this and I'm gonna go to this woman in the back who's been raising.
So I have a couple of questions, and I know we'll touch on different things, but specifically, first, I just want to say I'm doing a program, I've been doing a program. For the rollout of it, we had a tenant who was not doing the program. So that was, we don't have that problem anymore, but most of the sanitation district is a transient area. And so even if we're having these conversations now, landlords are having these conversations every few months with the turnout. We're also in a very, it's working poor area based on all of our numbers for education and whatever. So literally the cost of bags, I'm not understanding. I understand the program. Yeah, I understand the cost share. I understand the concept. But I can go on Amazon and get orange bags for.
Biodegradable.
Yes, and at the
One
same,
person at a time, please.
and at the same, with the plastics, when they were talking about the plastic and stuff, so, it's not just me, but people are looking at, I have a budget right now, I'm not really working a little bit. in the area and whatever, and so when I'm looking at the numbers, it hurts my soul to pay, over $1 for a garbage bag. And I'm doing the program, but after we run out of those bags, I mean, in Amazon. So I don't understand why the Middletown bags specifically, I don't understand why we can't get our own garbage bags, they're expensive. And also, we're a sanitation district. And I know there's South five districts, and I know that this is like a governmental thing, but I do understand why we don't have voting rights as a district. We have, programs. I think that's the problem, not understanding and not having communication when we have to go to the polls and vote on what we want. You guys keep saying VVV, but it's not, it's you. And we have different situations going on within the district. And I feel like most people would, if they had any kind of control over their choice on whether or not they want to be part of the program, even if it's a collective thing. You throw Wesley in there, we're going to have a recycling program. I don't think people care if they have a chance to vote for it. So I know that this isn't your problem, that is more like Middletown government problem, but I think that has to be addressed before you have these voices, or at least contended.
So the orange bags include the cost of disposal, that's why they're more expensive than other bags. That's the whole point of the program, the bag has the disposal cost in it. That's how you get the reduction of $120 a year. So that should go for the disposal cost. So that's why the bag costs a buck.
Math makes sense to me in the sense that if we don't know how many bags we're using for the system, so that I know how many bags I use, right? So I know the breakdown of the bag, right? But the cost of going on Amazon and getting an orange bag for 50 cents, that feels better in my soul than spending, $1.65 for a bag. And I'm only using one bag, but that saves me a lot more money. And when it comes down to, saving the earth, which I'm doing anyway because I'm doing the program, or saving the green in my pocket, right now, don't put the green in my pocket. And I'm not the only one who's doing this. And as far as having dumpsters, I made a phone call. Look, my neighbor made a phone call, speaking on his behalf, right? He owns several houses literally right next to me and right behind me. And he has space for a dumpster. So he called me, he's like, okay, look, problem solved. So I'm gonna deal with this situation with the tenants, whatever, let's get a dumpster. And he was told, we can't do it. We won't come into this area because this is a sanitation area for the city, and we're not gonna touch it. So when you guys are talking about the dumpsters in Wesleyan and the dumpsters in at the hospital, I mean, I know that they're city dumpsters, but so we don't even have accessibility to getting a dumpster in our own area to kind of make it more convenient for people to even follow.
So I can address that.
And I know that this is like hearsay, so I don't want to speak on this behalf. I can still hear that.
Yeah, I'll let you guys talk about the cost of the bag. I think that's important to cover that. Because you can't compare the bag to something you buy anywhere, and I'll let them talk about that. But the city does provide dumpsters, and I don't know if you talk to the city or did talk to a private hauler, but we can give pricing for dumpsters as well. In this program, starting with carts, it's one baby step at a time. We can't do everything at once. So we are starting with carts. And then, and it's a year. We're gonna see how it is and then go from there. But if you're interested, or whoever that person is interested in a dumpster, we can give pricing on that.
So just to address your question about the bags and using one bag. So you said, you use. And so collectively, we know what's used as well, because we know exactly how many go to the grocery stores, all of that's reported. So you can, I guess, publish that if you want to, you can publish whatever. So the exact revenue. So the $120, I'm going to average this out because I don't know the exact amount, but $120 divided by 12 months is $10 per month. So if you use one $6.65 bag a week, that's either $6.40 or $8 for 5 weeks in that month, right? So you're spending less than $10. Collectively, right now, the residents are averaging about $7 in spending. I know everybody's doing it. And the stores bought bags, so that's all part of the calculation. But over time, that can be published every month, you know, I'm not giving Chris a job to do here, but so you can see exactly the revenue that offsets that $10. The objective of this is that everybody averages 7. Yeah, some people might spend more and some people are going to spend less. The objective is that everybody averages about $7 or $8 and everybody got $10 back. I understand there's a renter landlord issue, that's a separate issue, but $120 per cart was given back. That's $10 a month. So if you're spending less than $10 a month, you're one of the people that's saving. And on average right now, it's about 7. Now it's too early to tell exactly what it's going to be. But I think from a transparency standpoint, if Chris and Kim, again, I'm not giving you things to do, it's your call. But if you published exactly what the stores purchased which stores purchased what, you could see the exact revenue that the city is getting. And I hope that would help clear things up because that's all the city is getting. You can go to the stores and ask them, how many bags did you buy, whatever. I mean, it's a very transparent process. The revenue is known, but for everybody right now at the beginning of the program, they don't know what to expect. So I understand why there's nerves, but there are 2 million people, households doing this type of programming. Most of them, many of them here in New England, and we do have averages of what people are going to use. So we know pretty much what's going to happen. I hope that helps. I don't know if it does, but.
To address the question about voting, so you voted in the common council, you then voted on the program. So when technically you elected your representatives.
So, okay, but I want to be a little bit more clear. So the 5 districts, both, they are a district that they have to pay a separate, pay their fire department, they have to break down their mill rate and all of that.
So I think that is true for Westfield and Southfire. I would think that's for Central.
100%. So what I'm saying is this district is more like that. And this is something that we cannot control. We have to be part of it. Even if we buy out of it, we're still part of it. And you know, when it comes to changing a huge program like this, I feel like we should have voting rights in that just much as, I'm just using it as a comparison, the fire district has, you know, in Southwards area. That's all. Does that make?
So I also felt fine when the box got dropped off and I felt like I was very wasteful in the bags. If I had known more about it, I probably would have more filled my bags and I probably would have had a lot left over for this year. So that was unfortunate. I do have a family of 5, 3 young children, a dog, cats. We use trash. But thankfully, I said, all right, we're going in. Let me get the right size garbage can. And I've noticed I use 1 bag a week for all of us. And it keeps compacting, it keeps going down. It's the right size. There's no waste. I wish I did that initially because it would have been a lot. I wouldn't have had to buy any bags at this point. But that's how it worked out.
Excuse me, I'm just wondering, is that change sizes change?
Because of our meeting with you, we made the bag bigger. What, 13 pounds? We made it 50 pounds.
You all do.
So that's been really nice. I do feel the bags themselves are flimsy, which is unfortunate, and maybe it's because I am overfilling them, but the handles do rip. I actually had to return some to Price Chopper. I think they must use the box cutter and they ripped some of the bags. Luckily, I noticed in the parking lot and they were happy to take them back. So that was also unfortunate. And the way I've been framing this $1.65, whatever it is, and I don't know if it would help, is when you go to the post office and you want to send a present to a nephew, niece, whoever, you can buy the priority box. You never spend $17 on it. You wouldn't. You would have no reason to do that. But what you're doing is you're spending $17 to ship something in said box. So that's something that I do, right? Like I ship things out, whether you're doing it on Amazon or eBay, but you would never spend that type of money on a cardboard box. That's foolish. But what you're not buying the box. You're not buying the box. You're buying the service that comes with the box. And that's how I've had to shift my framing. And that has helped me a lot. And I've also noticed that I'm being more conscious now of what goes in the trash. So I will flatten things more. I will push things down more. And that's all been very helpful. And I do think there's this misconception that everyone that's affected by this is in the north and it's all downtown. I'm on West Street, I'm not downtown, but I am part of the sanitation district does spread out further. It's not just this transient area. It is residential as well, so there is this back and forth between the two. So I think in the long run, this is going to help, but I mean, I think the people that are not fan are producing more garbage than they should be. If you produce less, then, and it is possible, I've learned how to shift how much I produce. It is helpful. But look, I do agree completely, like if it was rolled out, formed more at the beginning, maybe we would have been able to spread out that piece of that bags more. Is there a way to just drop off bags again? Is that an option to like have to pay for your bags up front, like get more than 5 perhaps? I've heard of some areas that don't do the bags, they just put, they buy stickers and they put stickers on any bag you want, but you're buying a $1.50 sticker, kind of like postage stamp, which is a similar thing. You never buy a sticker for 65 cents, whatever postage is right now, you're buying to get that shipped. So it's, you're not spending money on these bags, you're spending money on a service. And once you shift that perspective, it makes sense to me. I don't know if that helps at all.
Well, although it galls me to have put my bag in my trash in a white bag, then I have to take my white bag out and put it in an orange bag because I've got another roll of these bags that didn't fit in my trash can. They have since made, and I just found out Saturday in the meeting with that, that the bags have gotten bigger. Bravo. I think that's a wonderful, that's using orange bags in my trash.
But perhaps, just like I know I got onto the farmer's market and I was able to get my little compost bin from the city, and I was able to get a little, there was the little one for the countertop, and then there was a little one that you can bring places, the bigger one. Maybe if there was a way in the summer or at some point to have a direct buy for the right garbage cans. So you can go and have that option so that you do have the right size bag. Because my struggle right now is like dog poop bags. So I just throw them in my can. I don't have a separate thing and that I'm still cheating and I'm throwing them in. But if there was a way to have something where you can pick up an actual can, that could be helpful. That's the right size.
Yeah, so on the same idea of shifting your thought process, when you go shopping, buy something with less packaging. You got the option to buy 2 items. One's got a lot of packaging, one doesn't have much packaging. Buy the one that doesn't have much packaging. You have less trash.
You can.
Talk about lots of containers that we have.
It's
The error is it goes into statements like these that buy less stuff. We played this game. Our society is structured in a way that does not favor recycling. When they do create something like 7th generation cardboard containers for dish soap or laundry detergent, they charge us more. It's all designed in this way. I've been doing what she's been saying. And the program came out again. I've seen it before. I love it. It's a brilliant idea. It works great when it's implemented with justice and with fairness in mind instead of just raw equity. You're saying this like we're just going to magically pull money out of our pockets and find ways to get rid of things. You've already taken a ratio play with me everywhere I go, breaking down cardboard containers that things come in and disposing of this stuff on the side. I'm already cutting up these bottles when I have milk jugs or water containers, breaking them down and collapsing them into themselves to take up as limited space as possible. I have done this. I've been playing trash.
So those are going in your recycling bin, right?
Absolutely. And I've been doing, I have to do this because if I don't do that, I'm going to waste the space. I have a newborn at home. I now have to make diaper trash. I need the white bags, which I've already paid for an outsized number of white bags. It's fascinating what she said about the stickers. And has a probably better idea than these bags, stands. I need the white bags for the proprietary trash can, the diapers coming. My wife will let me store up stinky diapers in the house because I have to make them match the bag, and I have to play the trash warden game of saving money because God forbid I produce more bags than what the amount you guys have proprietarily and again short-sightedly decided that this is what the average ought to be and that this is what the savings ought to be. You invented a savings of $60 per cycle, 120 a year, off of the idealized participant to help facilitate your goals, your program. It doesn't reflect what the real user is downrange doing. It doesn't reflect what we as a collective group are shouldering each other's burden from each according to his needs, or do you want it to be some other way? Do you want to say, no, from each according to his contribution? You're making a bunch of stuff, you're going to pay more for that. And we're going to penalize the hell out of you for making more stuff.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Let's ask.
You want to say something about?
No, why don't you go on to?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to speak to, your remark about, what was going on at the Lisbon plant. And I did this at the, common council meeting the other day. It's just easier to read. My source is the newspaper. And you said that it cost us to, take our, solid waste down to Lisbon, up to Lisbon, and Kimberly. And it says, see, we are the sole members of the Eastern Connecticut Resource Recovery Authority. And so Middletown will receive, this is a quote, I'm sorry, Middletown will receive 100% of the benefits of the ECRRA's ownership of the 500 tons per day that the Lisbon plant, with a multi-million-dollar value, is only going to be expected to increase as the number, as you said, sir, as the number of waste disposal options decline and the regional tip fees rise throughout the state of Connecticut and in the Northeast. And you had addressed that on several occasions. And that the capability of the Lisbon plant is 135,000 tons of municipal solid waste per year. So I just wanted to address that. Maybe you could further expand upon why, even if I don't understand if we own it, we have to pay to take our garbage there, but there must be a sound reason for you to have said that. Number one, if I can just get two things out, sure, and then I'll come to the point. Made it. And the other thing is I hear again and again, and I did address that with this board. And that is, I think, because I hear a lot of frustration. I was one of the people that was really, really, really frustrated when I found that little brown box. And had no idea. And it wasn't until about 6 or 7 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks after I got my little brown box, opened it, and I said to my sweetie, hey, did you order something with bags? And he goes, no, I thought you did. And I put them in the garage. And then my neighbor said, well, how do you like the new program? And I said, what is the program? So and he goes, the program. I went, oh, dear God. It wasn't a bad program. I mean, I really was standing, so I was supposed to be on board, and I wasn't. And not only not on board, I wasn't even on the dock. You know, I wasn't on anything. So I ran home and I read, and I went right to work to get program started in my home. I think getting feedback and input is never too late. So I think getting some kind of a comprehensive sheet out for feedback, and there happens probably two, one for your residential population and probably one for your commercial population. So that what worked, what didn't work. And then, you know, I also have room for narratives, but not conventional. How people talk, including myself. And, you know, I think we have to get some comprehensive feedback. And not only that, but there might be a feeling of they want to listen to me. They want to hear what I have to say. Good or bad, or indifferent. It's working for me. This young lady was very, very clear. And I think you had some brilliant ideas. You know, you would learn things. And so I think maybe doing something with getting some customer feedback, because there are 2,870 customers that you need to hear from, so that there's a sense of you're listening to me. And I think that's really important.
We all need to be listened to.
So Lisbon, and I jump at the chance to talk about this because I just learned about this myself. And I cannot pretend to be the expert on it, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But so Middletown ECRA owns the Lisbon facility. Middletown is the only community, the only member of ECRA. However, they are two very different entities. And from, so we in Public Works have never seen any proceeds from the Lisbon facility. But according to the contract, the sanitation district always has the option to bring their waste there. So it is something that is always considered. Now, when the facility was built, and it's very complex and complicated, and I wouldn't pretend to, again, be the expert on it. But for the first 20 years, Middletown Waste did, the sanitation district waste did go there. It went to the transfer station on Industrial Park Road, and then it was transported out to the Lisbon facility. And there was a very, it was part of that long-term contract. Now that ended in 2019, 2018. It ended, and then the city just had to decide whether to continue transporting it out there or doing something different. And at that time, they decided, they got pricing, and it was much too expensive to ship it out to Lisbon. I mean, the cost of transportation is always an issue for us anyway, in public works.
If you don't mind my asking, who are the they?
So at that time, it was the director of public works, it was the mayor, it was the city attorney's office that negotiated the contract. So they did the price.
Is there a bail from the taxpayers?
The city has a very comprehensive purchasing process that we have to follow. And it is very transparent. You can ask questions and it'll all be provided to you. I wasn't really involved in that, in that contract, but then that was a 3-year contract that ended. And then just recently, we went out for pricing for the waste now. And now we're part of this pilot program. And so we got pricing for sorting to see what it would be. And that's where our old contract ended in December. Our new contract started in January. It's for a year to see how this works. But that's all, public information. And but when we did that, to go back to the original question, the cost to deliver to Lisbon practically double the price. So although we do have I can't say Middletown actually owns the facility, and if you're asking questions about proceeds from the facility, we don't know that. You'd have to go to the director of finance to ask him how that works. But ECRA is the entity that.
Fortunate as the president of that.
I'm sorry?
That is correct.
Yes, yeah, Middletown is the only member, and I believe the people on it are council people and the mayor. Yes, but it's not public works. It's not, and the money doesn't come back to public works. He's in charge.
I've listened to a lot of people and I agree with a lot of what they said. You have a perception problem, and the perception is this program is a huge pain in the backs. That's number one. Number two, you did a crappy job explaining it to people in the beginning, like this lady on Saturday before Thanksgiving. A box arrived on my doorstep. And if I hadn't read an article in the Hartford Courant about the 15 towns that were in this planning program, I would have had a clue.
I did research that,
Okay.
same thing online.
I read about it in Hartford Courant. Okay, there was no explanation. There was no instructions as to what was in green bag, what was in the orange bag. And I attended a public meeting back in the spring and I said the same thing. Your education program is terrible. You need to educate people better than you're doing. And that hang tag that was put on my garbage can that said, oops, 5 times. You know what that did? That pissed me off, pardon my French. I'm an educated homeowner that lives in the North End, and you're telling me you basically screwed up. Because you guys didn't educate the public about what goes in what bag, what goes in the other bag, and why this needs to happen. Let me also say, I have an orange and green bag. And I use them, okay, because I understand what the program's about. But as a homeowner, how much am I really saving? Okay, yeah, when the bill came the last time, and I saw the reduction, I go, oh, great. So I realized I have to go buy bags. And when you add them all up, am I really saving you? No. Okay, there you go. Okay, so
Where's the benefit of the program other than environmentally? And I understand that's important. But you did a crappy job explaining it to the public.
We can also.
And you have a perception problem. I was out doing yard work, and a woman, I don't even know who the hell she was. She's a tenant, in one of the two families, I live on Prospect Street, and there's a lot of two families. And she was in my ear about how terrible this program is, as a tenant. You guys got a problem, you better figure out how to correct it.
Can I ask a question? So you're right, we did do a crappy job in sending those boxes out without education beforehand. I will say after that, we worked really hard to do our public education, to teach people about the program. And I have a list of everything we did in the last year on that. So clearly that didn't get out. So tell us, this is what we need, feedback from you as to how to get people to learn about that. And what can we do to educate people about the program? Give us feedback on what to do, because I feel like we've been doing a lot. I know I've been working a lot. But if it's not working, then tell us what will work better. And I feel like this is one of the things that now we're at 7:05 now. And I'll let Chris choose the hands, but this is one of the things that I would love to have a working group on, to get feedback on how to get this information out.
But we're backpedaling now.
Hey, please, let's let people with the hands up and Chris.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions, and then I have some commentary also. First of all, we're talking about numbers. Where are we getting all these numbers? Is it hard numbers that came in from last year that you get numbers from? Second question is, who, the gentleman sitting next to you, he is from another company, I think? Yeah. And he's from Waste Zero? Yes. Why do we have this? Do we really need Waste Zero? And do we need a consultant to tell us that we're putting something else in our garbage can that shouldn't be there? And also, we're paying them for the bags. Why? That's another question I have. And the other question was about the Lisbon facility. This lady over here is saying that it takes 3 hours to go to Southern and back with our trash. But you're complaining about taking our trash to a facility that Middletown actually owns.
No, the name of them.
It's the president, okay?
Oh,
You see,
exceptionalized.
our A owners, which Middletown City is the beneficiary, is the only member of that committee. And the other entities in that, the SPCR,
They're not a member, but they bring a trash to, so it's not anything.
you're seeing money up, and you're saying you don't know where that money is.
The city is not getting money. I explained that. It goes to ECRA and that's a different entity. I know it sounds funny,
Then why?
but it's not. And maybe we have another meeting and have the city attorney talk about this, because it's not something that we're experts on. It's a different entity. It's not the city.
Okay, I understand that ECR, but it's coming into Middleton, that they own the facility.
Different, different agencies,
Yeah, so.
different roles, not just fishing.
So, I think we'll actually have a public meeting, so if we go on to the city.
Yeah, like City Hall.
I think I'm on, not, yeah. So to get back to the question about how do we get to, connected with Waste Zero? So DEP, the state did a request for proposal, and they have to be the lowest bidder on this. So that's how we chose them. They're either the sole source of bags that we can use, or they're the low bid for that item. So that's how we ended up working with them.
Okay, why wasn't all this presented to all?
This whole presentation tonight.
This meeting should have been held before they implemented anything. And got feedback from people in the district. And the other question is, why isn't the rest of the city still? They're worried about putting a plaque on the wall instead of involving the whole city. It doesn't make sense to me. The whole thing doesn't make sense.
So it is possible that in the future, city may create an ordinance that requires citywide participation.
Litigation that needs to be addressed.
So if you grab, so if you grab this off the calendar, you can see how many meetings are going to be presented. You've had the several common council meetings, you've had the sanitation district, where this was all presented before we implemented it. So
We know about.
was that public information, the agendas presented, every council meeting, to the public.
So we also had several community input meetings. And this is a problem with, I'm gonna go back to this. It's a problem with our recycling as well. People don't pay attention unless they have to. And you do have to seek out the information. We do try to get it to you, but then people get mad if we leave a tag on your cart. You know, no matter what we do, it's not right. So it goes back to, I need your feedback as to how you would have learned about that meeting. We send it out through the website, through Civic Center. We put press releases out. We put it on Channel 19. I have like a list of like 30, 50 things that I did.
Public access TV.
So it goes back to us.
The biggest challenge is, there's so many different outlets for information. Which one does everybody look at? You're trying to give you as many as you can, it's necessary, but you can't always follow. Mail something. Yeah.
And I'm also stable first. To really use that feedback, it would take a month. At that time, all five would be all.
I keep mine in the freezer.
I think I said March and freeze. I do. So I'm never gonna keep my garbage in the freezer.
It's the only way I figured it out.
I'm gonna spend $1.65 every time I cook something or use an egg.
So that's orange bag, right?
Yeah.
And also, I have to
Yeah.
prove it, but I know I would do it, and I know my neighbor downstairs would do it. Prove this white bag in one of her garbage cans. I had to fish that thing out this morning and put it in an orange bag. So I wouldn't get a $25 fine. And it was really stressful. And so, for furniture, I'm not going to do someone an animal critic. Because one, he's gonna spell right back on us the next year. One of these months. Oh, you doesn't want up $10 or $20 because I got funds.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask them if I need it. Let's look at that. Anyway,
So the,
it's ridiculous, the whole program, especially, I mean, I recycle. I do everything else. But for one person to have to do this, I'm getting a lot of money. Me too. And I don't make a whole lot.
That's a good question on this.
Sure.
What do you do with your garbage without putting it in the green bag?
Put it in the board, put it in the board, I put it in a bag from the grocery store, produce bag. Tie it up and throw it in the trash. Why can't I do that?
It ends up in the green bag.
So you're telling me I can use other bags?
It's not ideal, but you can do.
The food waste only goes in the green bag, right? Am I missing?
Wait,
Nobody wants to green bag.
so I can put plastic bag in green bag?
No.
So
No.
put that-
In the orange bag, but the green bag is just food.
Yeah, that's right.
You have smaller.
So I take
Small
the
bag.
produce bag and throw it in the orange bag and stop using the green bag? Green bag very often.
Wait, I just use the green bags, right?
Let's go back to the green bags. So we have two sizes of the green bag. We have an 8 gallon and we have a 4 gallon. It's 25 cents, 15 cents and 25 cents. So the smaller green bag is only 15 cents. Now it's not 50 cents. Yeah.
15 cents. It's a green bag.
Just go to your yard. So you don't have to use the green bags. Green bags are often, to use the green bag.
It's cheaper. I just got one question. Have you, have a rocker? No,
Did I actually say that someone's gonna go through the trash?
We have we're not going through the trash, we're just looking at color bags.
That's illegal.
Well, we're against the stuff. Whatever, what are they gonna do there?
Nobody's going through the trash.
No, not looking at trash bags, looking at what's on, it's just a couple of trash.
Okay.
So if I can throw my eggs in the orange bag.
Not a problem. They love to put in this, they love to put in the green bag. You want to do that?
Totally.
Yes.
Yes. So you guys can't go around in circles.
You're gonna pay less money or it's gonna make me happy. It's not one question. That's.
So, if you get, hold on a second.
Apparently we have two color bags.
Yeah.
And we want all the food waste in the green
Correct.
and not in the orange.
That would be.
That's just for trash.
Correct.
Okay, I accept that. Who's to say that somebody will throw their food waste in the orange and do it with the green bag? That's are way cheaper than the orange. I probably.
Told me I could.
Yeah,
In the orange. No, but,
right. Well, and that defeats the purpose, like you said. I should only spend the orange color. Because everybody seems to like a bag. Why can't we strip it up and we're saying, we're paying for the facility, you know. Store, or, and that's what, why we're paying.
Please stop talking, let's listen to one at a time.
So,
And that's what we're paying for the orange bags. Obviously, we can't use white, I mean, you can change that to white bags.
so the problem is there is no difference in the white bags. Everybody's got white bags, everybody's white bags. So it's not unique. We need to choose unique colors. So we can tell them we're actually buying it.
White bag is unique, just one. Just-
White and black, this is the most common trash bag.
Well,
So we have to
then
keep-
just say only white bags. Because then they can't, people pay for the delivery city.
It's that extra fee.
Well,
If you prove that you
It
paid
looks like
for the
it's cheap.
Right, do you think my tenant is gonna pay for the delivery?
somebody has to pay for the delivery.
Probably, yeah.
I'm desperate for answers. Back up to what I said.
Hey, man, we're going back to the delivery, where we own the delivery station.
No.
Middletown, how is that with the?
We get competitive pricing for bit. Oh, go ahead.
This lady is referring to is that when you buy the orange bag, you're paying for your trash disposal. Part of it. So if you want to do anything that the state allows you to throw in the bag, which would include your eggs, you can do that. Now, it is cheaper to use the green bags to put your food waste in, which is what we would prefer you to, so we can save money and that we can turn that into energy. That is kind of the incentive structure so that you do that. But the orange bag is orange so that it can be identified that you have paid for your disposal fee, just like the box has a sticker on it, you know that box can pay for anything that you put in front of your house, pick up, or a stamp on a letter, anything.
Why could you just go back to paying 120, because nobody had a problem with that.
Is that all just keep going up? That's gonna keep going up.
Go ahead.
So there was an article that came out, and it's from the Middletown website, and it says that the cards, for going forward, the hospital will need to bag trash. But then it says cards that do not contain the required bag will not be empty. So is that, so we're not needing five bags trying to pick up the trash, like, so what's that mean? Things are literally like tomorrow.
Yeah, so that is, so if you're not using the orange bags, you're not paying for your disposal. So to get your attention, give us a call. Hey, your trash card didn't get picked up today. Okay, well, this is the reason why. If you put it in your own bag, maybe the next day you come to pick it up.
So the,
Is this long term or is this the fine situation or what?
Hopefully, everybody will, get educated, understand the program and will participate.
so it's
But
part,
you don't have to.
so it's part of the conversation we've been having. And that Kim has been talking about, this Kim has been trying to educate everyone. But there are still people that don't know. So you all came to this meeting and you've gotten more information. And which is awesome that you guys came take the time to listen. And give your feedback, but there's still people that don't know. So they're gonna find out. Now, nobody's trying, I can assure you that all the towns that do this, nobody's trying to find anybody. But you need a fair playing field for the people who are paying for the orange bags. Everybody needs to do it. You can't just say you can do it and you don't have to do it, things like that. So I think the idea is to make sure that it's another form of information education. It's not trying to be punishment, but it will get people's attention. For the people who have not gone to any of these meetings, not heard, not seen the website, not seen anything else. And I think that's kind of the objective, but I can assure you that cities and towns who do these programs are not out to find people or punish people. They're just trying to make sure it's fair for everybody and everybody's playing by the same rules.
So if I have, sorry. So say I have like 5 bags, I have one. Perfect. Sure, it's really good to take the whole bag.
He said it, take it alone.
I can, at least from my perspective, we're looking for the blatant,
Like all
chronic violence. So right now, when they're out, they're looking for the trash carts that don't have any orange bags. Yeah. I mean, we ask you not to. These blatant chronic violence.
If you have a single bag, you're basically a shame, because nobody's trying.
Yes.
Why can't anybody buy the bag on lunch?
You can, they are available.
No, I don't mean these particular ones, they are biodegradable, unbelievable, and I got enough, that's not that.
So, okay,
So it's still biodegradable.
yeah, so I know people love compostable and biodegradable bags, but they really, for trash, they don't make a difference. They go to either a burn facility where they get burned, or they go to a landfill where they sit and they don't degrade. Now we do have, for the people, for our food scrap program, our drop-off program, we have offered the compostable bags. And, but not simply, and not for this program, because it gets too confusing, but for the people who bring, so they don't have the option to put food scraps in their curbside cart. They have to collect it and bring it to a drop off. And we have provided the little food scrap countertop. We got one at the farmer's market, and we give them a startup of the compostable bags. But when we're talking about cold collection, one, those compostable bags will fall apart. We have people who are sorting the bags. It's manual right now. Hopefully it will stay that way. But either way, we need the bags to be strong enough to go through the compaction process and the sorting process. So a compostable bag would just fall apart. And maybe down the road, hopefully down the road, they'll design a bag that is, I don't know, maybe not biodegradable, but really, it doesn't really make a difference. Maybe compostable. Already our bags are made of recycled content. So the main thing is we need a bag that's strong enough to go through that process. And with this program, people actually use less bags, but I know that sounds weird. It took me a little while to get that too. But with the waste reduction, we're generating less. People use plastic bags anyway. And so now with the waste reduction, you're stuck with your bags more. So you're actually, with the incentive to save money, they use less bags. And and people say we're using too much plastic. We are using too much plastic. And hopefully down the road, there'll be a better alternative. But the compostable and the biodegradable, really, it doesn't matter. And it's not going to work in the system, and it's not going to help our food diversion.
It doesn't matter. It seems like no matter how many times we say this, you can't buy a separate bag because it doesn't include the cost of disposal. That's the whole point of buying these orange bags, because it includes the cost of disposal that we remove out of your bill, your fund. Go ahead, David. So, yeah.
So I have two tools. One being, we're talking about the food scraps and the waste. Is there anything in town that people, again, that use that much food scraps and bring those?
Yeah, we have 2 locations. We have one at the recycling center. We have one down the south end of town on Red Oak Road at the emergency management building. I think it's Ryan, or no, East Ridge, right there at the corner. They have containers up there.
So the second thing that I thought was, it was a great idea with stickers.
Yeah.
Which leads into two more. It's, well, not that. What's the term of that idea of being looked at, the owner and communication with that?
We'll have to take a look at the sticker program and see.
So why don't we write that as alternative programs? So put that up there for a future meeting to look at something like that. That's my, because it is complex and there's.
It's a whole other program.
Right, yeah, it's a whole.
The hard thing is gonna be small.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I'm saying for the program, I'm saying it's a similar idea. Can I just tell it, because you were talking about food scraps,
Yeah.
people should also know, like, you shouldn't be putting any fabric in your garbage. You shouldn't have to pay for that because all of the public schools, I'm pretty sure, have bins for recycling fabric. So say you have rags, all these things that are like heavy, that are gonna fill your bags, just drop them off at any of the elementary schools or bins, and then it's free. You don't have to pay for it.
I think they actually get money back. from the codes.
Where are you getting that information?
That's actually.
That's on the website.
Yes.
I'm just gonna give an alert. It's 7:25 or almost 7:25. I'm gonna ask that you ask people
Huge.
that have not
Yes.
spoken yet. And then we do want to talk about, for the next meeting.
The trash and food waste are both now being handled at Southington.
Yeah.
We're no longer separating and mowing for
That is correct.
and bringing the trash back here.
Correct.
Okay.
So full disclosure, I am a volunteer of recycling. So we've talked about a lot of this, but I just feel learning also. But I think the takeaway, some takeaways, is nobody likes change. I don't like change, you don't like change. We don't like it, and we all have a lot to learn, and the program, the city has a lot to learn, and we all. But regardless, costs are going up. There's no place for our garbage. There's just no place for it. So we all have to work to reduce it. And I'm actually not in the district. And I would like to come because I bring my food waste over to these 3 bins and dump it. And I recycle, yet I can't reduce my costs, even though I'm doing all these things. But I have had it work, so I don't have this option. And my costs are going up. So, it's 2 sides to the point here. And just one to point that.
I think she'll hear it.
Very, on the garbage please and the fees. And not just for me right now, I honestly think that like the biggest issues, one of the biggest issues because of cost is the threat. And you're threatening people, hey, you're not following this program. We're just getting this program all around. So people are still rolling in this program, new chances, whatever. So I really want clarity on like what that means, because it doesn't seem like, okay, someone's going through your trash. And maybe they're pulling, like tonight, well, maybe they're pulling out of that. Maybe you guys don't know, but we need to know because, $25, $65, $250 was the last thing that I saw. That's.
Yeah, there's.
Also, it's misinformation. I want to know what's going on. Say, oh, what's happening, you don't get this information.
Similarly, I'm not in the district, but I am curious to hear what people think about this and what they've heard. Perhaps it would be helpful if we better understood the positive parts of this program. What, if we're taking it to Southington to create energy, who's benefiting from that energy? Are we gonna get a reduction in our average? No, exactly. Or, like, are we gonna be able to turn the food scraps into compost that we can all for free, or we can our own garbage? You know what I mean? And maybe that exists, and maybe it's in your material. I just wanted to put that out there. So if you incentivize us with letting us know the positive outcome above and beyond reducing the waste. Perhaps.
So I think Southington is the only one currently getting. Other than our price is lower, we could look at food waste than if we were to trash. That's the main change, is the difference between bringing it to the, having food waste go to the aero digester versus of storing it anyway. So that's the biggest thing. And so, there is 2 components. First, they do the aero digestion, and that creates the, methane that they use to create the energy. And then the remaining residuals is composted, and that is available, not free to us, but it is available. That's the final product for that.
I have
One of the things I'm observing, and listening tonight, that a lot of people are asking the same questions, you're getting the same answers, I'm not sure it's sinking in. I think maybe one thing that would be helpful is you collected everyone's email addresses, possibly sending out like a debrief of just a few bullet points from tonight, so that people can see it in writing, everyone's all.
Email.
Well. And then check, how do you want it to be communicated? Because what I hear here is the secret effort of the last county council meeting, and the one before that, and the one before that. And they're giving you the answers, and you're not letting it sink in, you're asking the same questions, and it's not productive. So I'm gonna suggest that maybe you put something out in writing to people who are getting your emails. And it's something that, because now that there's side conversations going on, you know, not everyone's hearing everything the same way. When you get, I think maybe it'll be another helpful communication.
And we did, I don't know if we have any more copies of that. The questions that were asked at the first sanitation commission, we did have the questions and answers at the back. And that will be on our website shortly, if it's not already.
That is on our website. We also have a very comprehensive question and answer document that's gonna go up on too. But that's a great idea to.
So can you get a second recycling?
Yeah.
Because of this, I have so much extra recycling, which is.
Also, give me a second.
Second recycling, second question. Just because there's been a lot of misinformation on the internet and Facebook, is the city charging the bare minimum they need to on these bags? Like, is the city making a profit on bags? Because I've heard that, I don't think it could, maybe it's true, I don't know. Is anyone making a profit on the bags? Like, could they be 135 if someone wasn't making 20 cents a bag? I don't know, I'm making up numbers, but can you answer that?
So obviously, for-profit company, probably there is some. But the city is not.
Are we paying the bare minimum possible on, is there a jack up that the city is reaping benefits?
So that's a, okay. No, I was just saying, so again, the math to think about is that your bill was reduced $10.
No, I totally,
So the answer is that, the estimate is that instead of having to pay that 10, the cost to dispose of the trash this year should be about $7 a month per person.
So I think
The bag was set, the price of the bag was set to meet that $7 based on averages. We don't know exactly what Middletown's going to do.
Is the city going to?
No, the objective is not, the objective is to cover the cost.
Yeah, so the objective is, we are operating the requirements.
And if there was anything, where would that money go?
That will go into our fund balance, and then we need to build that up, so if we need to buy a truck or what have you, that money will go towards.
That makes perfect sense. I just heard like, oh, someone's making money, and it just helps to know if there is surplus a little bit, where is it going?
So 2 more questions, so back to bigger.
They buy a track, race chopper, or stuff. They buy it from Middletown, they buy it from.
So yes, all the money goes back to Middletown, so there's the store does not have a market value.
They're just not making any money.
That is. Yeah. In the back of the-
I know the community, they, accept you.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Is that, I've posted down the, like, forum, for example, where you can post like, hey, there's this one contact of X, program, and people upvote or get information directly into that. I think that would also help, like, specific.
Yeah.
You know, like,
We do have,
things like that.
we do have the ability to push out information right with the app. So yes, so that's how.
That's a really.
You get the coupon for 3 bags when you start.
Yeah.
That was part of the app.
Question will be more sort of in terms of like, one, it's like a ticket, it's like, so people that were sewer voucher, like, to this website, you see a very specific tab and then you know it's directly related to that. I think that would be helpful to people that, you know.
So I'm sorry, I'm the enforcer at 7:30. Let's talk. I'd like to talk to you before you leave so that I can understand that fully. Before people go, do we want to meet again?
Oh, yes.
And do we want to meet, do we want to meet on a monthly basis? Monthly sounds okay. And
We meet the guide and
every 2 weeks or, okay, so I would like to go, so I gave you dates. Do you have those of what we're looking at? They were on that agenda. All right. Our meeting schedule is, so if we're looking at, meetings, we're looking at Thursday, January 25th. You're gonna go from there, or we should go Monday, like where I school, which is the. Start the January.